Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Tonight I'm taking a look at the... No, not Gamora. Go, go, go. Okay, tonight I'm taking a look at... No, not you either. Yes, beautiful figure, but I'm going to talk about something else for 10-15 minutes. Is that okay? Okay. Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Tonight, I'm taking a look at the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Wave 2, Star-Lord and Rocket and Groot. Now, this is going to be really hard to follow after yesterday's Gamora and Nebula, who are amazingly nice-looking figures, import quality. I cannot say enough good things about them. So, when I happened to get these today, which I wasn't expecting until later in the week, they popped up, I thought, yes, I'm going to review these, and then it's just kind of like, but I want to play with Gamora and Nebula more. But I am excited about maybe replacing the rocket that I have on the shelf. Hopefully this one's better articulated, better looking, just all around better, because the old one is kind of a brick. And then the Star-Lord, I'm happy with the short jacket version from Wave 1, but after seeing the movie, I'm good with also getting the long coat and the scarf look that we're getting here. Just to see what's different, see if the heads are all interchangeable, if I can give this one a mask look, if I can use this one as the first movie stand-in to replace that figure. So, yeah, there's some possibilities here, but it's going to be hard coming off the super action figure high of the women from this wave. Looking at the packages, standard Legends Fair, the box, black, logos, window, purple, love it, yeah, move on. On the sides, a pretty picture of Quill, and then on the rocket packaging, a picture of Groot. They're calling Groot, and they even have him listed up at the bottom, so I don't know why this should surprise me, as another character in the package, which I'm good with. And then on the other side, you get a pretty picture of Rocket. On the back, we get prototype pictures of both the figures, get bios up in the corners, get the wanted poster look for the rest of the wave here at the bottom, and then the unreadables. Warning, figures may charm your pants off. Guardians logo on top, legalese on bottom. So, I'm going to get these open and see exactly what's going on here. And there we go, all out of the package. And like I feared, I'm not as excited about these figures as I was about Gamora and Nebula. And I think, and that's my own fault, I hyped them up way too much, and then when I actually got them, oh man, they just blew my freaking mind. So getting another Star-Lord with some changes on him, and then an updated Rocket, not as exciting, but still cool figures in the long run. Looking over Star-Lord, it's almost the same release as the Wave 1 figure. It's the same torso, it's the same pants, same boots, different sleeves, different hands, and different coat, and then of course different head. So I'd say it's about half and half reuse and new parts. But that's not taking anything away from the sculpt itself. It's a great sculpt. The pants, just like we saw with the first figure, nice wrinkles all over it. The boots are great. Nice functionality to the whole thing. Flipping over to paint, in close-up shots of a couple of other figures from this wave, you can see that there's kind of a printing process to it. I don't think that's on this one, at least not as far as I can tell anyway. The eyes don't seem to be painted quite as well as the Wave 1 figure, but when it comes to hair, the reds on the body, the shirt tempo, it just looks great. It's all nicely done. I just don't feel it's as nicely done. And then flip over to Rocket, another great little sculpt in the line. It's completely new. There's no reuse from the first Rocket, which is good because it was kind of a letdown. But this definitely looks like Rocket. It looks like they had more to go on this time around. And actually they did. There's not a huge change in Rocket's actual appearance. His clothing maybe, but not actual Rocket. You know, his head, his arms, his legs, his tail. So this one seems a lot more movie accurate than the first one. And then coming around to paints, this one does seem to use some kind of print tech on the face. In close-up shots, you can see the little pixels where it was printed on, which is really, really strange to do on the Rocket since his eyes are just a dot in the middle of color, and then he has the gradations of color from dark to light on the face. Could have easily been done with paint. What it comes down to is I would really like to hear from Hasbro the process that they're using now. At least on these faces in this wave. Are they going to continue doing it? Because if it comes out like some of the figures in this wave, oh, yeah, they need to keep it up. And then finally, just because he's called out on the packaging, here's Groot in his Ravager gear. He wasn't in this costume very long in the movie. Nice little sculpt, no articulation. And then the paint on top of it is actually kind of surprising. For the size of this figure, the Ravager symbol on the shoulder didn't come out that bad. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. And then on Groot himself, the base color is great. It has a dark wash over it, and then actually some greens for some new growth, some moss on his head. Just added little detail that really sets the figure off. Now on Star-Lord, the problem I have with the arms, not so much the right, really, but the left, it doesn't really go down to his side, and I hate it when that happens, especially on movie-style realistic figures. And a lot of that has to do with this shoulder piece right here. Because of the design of the jacket, I'm not quite sure if this is the first movie jacket exactly, but it looks a lot like it. There's the shoulder pad coming over the left side that's not on the right. So the right does have a little bit more clearance because it doesn't have as much crap in the way. The left one, yeah, it has this. And they changed up articulation from left to right to accommodate this shoulder pad. The swivel right here is under it, which is nice. It's hidden. It doesn't break up the shoulder pad itself, but it does drop the articulation lower on the arm, which I guess in the grand scheme of things isn't a terrible thing. And then after going over reference pictures and everything, for all the great paints that we've been seeing in this wave so far, the silver buckles are missing on the boots. They're just a straight black, which is okay. It's not something super noticeable, and when the coat is closed, it kind of covers it up. They painted the buckle. They could have just come down and painted the boots too. Not a huge deal, but another added little detail that would have spiced this figure up a little bit. Coming around to Rocket, there's added articulation, but it's a little bit hindered. It's great. It's better than the first figure, definitely. I like that they've added stuff to it. Good job Hasbro for thinking of the finished product, but even with a ball joint in the head, you can see it right there, it doesn't come out as anything more than a swivel. There's not a lot of up and down. There's not a lot of tilt. And then when it comes to the ankles, they're just a swivel too. I understand this is a tiny, tiny figure. It's hard to pack that much articulation into a small figure. And they did try. You can kind of fake it because the peg kind of pulls out whenever you go at different angles. Essentially the foot just comes off really, but it's just a swivel. And then Groot. I'm just going to hold this to give you an idea of just how small this thing is. But like I said, the little paint apps, the zipper right here, the Ravager symbol, it's not perfect, but it's at least in the general shape of the symbol. He kind of has fish eyes because of the gold with the black dot in it, but you know what? I'm not going to grab. Hasbro did a good job with this. Now going over articulation on Star-Lord, there's a ball at the top of a hinge in the neck. He can look up. He can bury his chin in his chest. Little bit of tilt, not much. And then there's swivel. Hinge and swivel at the shoulder, comes up to about right there. Swivels around. Swivel at the bicep. Double elbow comes up all the way. Hinge and swivel at the wrist. There's side to side swivel. Hinge in the torso, kind of hard to get at because of the long overcoat, but he crunches forward one, back one. There's swivel at the waist. Hinge and swivel at the hips, comes forward almost 90, not quite. Out, little past 45, back a little bit, swivel at the thigh. Double knee comes almost all the way up. Swivel at the boot, hinge at the ankle, hinges back, forward, and then forward facing pin for rocker. For Rocket, like I said, there's a ball at the top of the neck, but it's hindered. There's not enough hole up in the bottom of the head. Full on swivel. Hinge and swivel in the shoulder, comes up, rotates around. Hinge and swivel in the elbow, doesn't quite make 90. Then there's swivel. Just a swivel at the wrist. There's a ball in the torso, comes forward, back, swivel, a little bit of side to side. You know what? I'm going to call this pretty good range of movement right there. It's not bad at all for a tiny, teeny little ball. Hinges swivel at the hip, comes forward, a little past 45 actually, not that great. Hinges out, pretty far, not bad. Back, not bad. Swivel at the thigh. Hinge and swivel at the knee, doesn't quite make 90. There's a little bit of swivel, but the thigh takes care of that, so it's not a huge deal that it doesn't swivel very much. And then there's swivel in the ankle. And then with Groot, nothing. For accessories, Star-Lord comes with his two elemental pistols. These are great. They've been used several times now. It was on the first wave, and I think it even goes all the way back to the first movie figure. More paints than you would think on here. The gold, the silver, then the base metal color. And then he comes with his scarf. Seen very shortly in the movie before they're heading off to where they're heading to. I I hate trying to be non-spoilery in a review. But you can either put it on, take it off. It's not molded to the figure. It's not necessary for the look. That's a cool little addition there. Although if you do pull it off, it is kind of a bear to get it back under the collar of the coat all the way around. You got to kind of work it in all the way around, push it down, get it in there. But once you do, it lays pretty nice. You can adjust it to the side or to the front. And then finally he comes with this black little blob of plastic, and it took me a minute, but it is his Walkman. It's got like little grooves on the side that are supposed to be buttons, and then on the top it's supposed to be the lid where it opens and you put the cassette in. And this comes into play with this peg right here on the front of his belt. It's kind of an odd shape. It's a square or a rectangle with one corner cut off, and you'll notice there's a hole in the back of this that just pegs right on there. Now it does stay on pretty good. It doesn't just fall off, but if you start articulating, it's going to pop it off. If you go back to the Wave 1 figure with the short jacket, he also has that peg too. Flip over to Rocket and he comes with a couple of pistols. One of them is kind of narrow, kind of thin, has a scope on it. It looks good. And then his other pistol has 3 barrels to it, looks like. It's a little bit beefier, but shorter. So a little bit more stout. And then his other accessory is an alternate head. In the package, he comes with the wide open mouth. The alternate head is more of a neutral look. It kind of looks like he's still growling, but it's way less angry. And to pop that off, it just comes off. This goes on. Not bad at all. And then Groot. For comparison, here's the Wave 2 Star-Lord with the Wave 1 Star-Lord. You can see all the reuse here, but the colors are different. Wave 1 Star-Lord, his boots are more grayish, while the Wave 2 is pretty much straight on black. And then the differences in the shirt. I remember him changing shirts in the movie, but I don't remember if he was changing from a lighter version of the Yeah Baby shirt to a darker version of the Yeah Baby shirt. I don't know. I just know that Wave 2 here, it's a much brighter white of the t-shirt itself. The Wave 1 is a dark gray. And then here it is with the first movie Star-Lord way back with the long trench coat. And then here's Rocket with the first movie Rocket. There was no articulation in the first Rocket's legs. It was kind of hard to stand. It was kind of hard to pose. But as you can see, the new Rocket is a little bit shorter, and I feel like that's more accurate. It just looks better in the overall scheme of things. And then here's Groot with the Toys R Us exclusive Groot. So at the end of the day, not bad at all, but not as exciting as I was hoping. The Star-Lord is not going to replace the short jacket version. This version isn't going to replace my short jacket version from Wave 1. That's going to be my Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 Star-Lord on the shelf. That's probably not going to come up for debate until the figure arts come out. But this Rocket is taking top spot. I still have to decide what I'm doing with my Guardians of the Galaxy. I still have the first movie stuff off to one end of the shelf. I'm building my Volume 2 display at the other end of the shelf. I need to decide. I don't need that many Guardians up on the same shelf. One of them needs to go down to the shelf of Misfit toys, and I have a feeling it's going to be the first movie toys. Yeah, I like the big Groot. Yeah, I like the Drax a little bit better than the Volume 2, but the Volume 2 figures are coming out just so much better than the Volume 1 figures. It seems like Hasbro is stepping up their game. I don't know if it's because of the Guardians or just because of Legends in general. Now, speaking of Star-Lord for a minute, I feel like his likeness isn't quite as good as the first one. Even though the beard is more accurate, he's got kind of the side chops. He has the goatee thing going on. The first one has full-on scruff beard. But for some reason, this one doesn't look as pratty as the first one. But because of the shared body parts and such, it's easy to switch the heads between the two. So you can mix and match and come up with your preferred Star-Lord. Even the masked head works on this body. So, yeah, very cool. And most of all, Rocket kicks ass because he's easy to stand. You would think with such a small base, it would be a bitch. You can use the tail as a tripod to kind of prop him up if you have an action pose going on. But when he's just standing in a vanilla position, just standing straight up and down, not that hard. And as far as Rocket goes, this is going to be perfectly good on the shelf, but Figure Arts may give this a run for its money. It may have more articulation, it may look a little bit better, but this is definitely a step up from Hasbro's first Rocket. But what it comes down to is I needed the Mantis parts too. I would have passed on Star-Lord otherwise. I hate to say that, but that's the damn truth. Now that I've seen the movie, and I loved it, I'm going to need an Ego, so there's another Star-Lord I have to buy there to get Ego in that 2-pack. So, yeah, well, a Chris Pratt for every room, I guess. So if you like the review, comment, like, subscribe. I'll catch you on the Fwoosh.